Today in the news, Americans were given the luxury that we haven't had in a long time. We were given a decision that we could make based on our morals, our principles, our beliefs, and our convictions. Donald Trump's comments from 2005, which were lewd and crude concerning women, have just surfaced. And the news media has cranked up the volume on it. And they have asked us, and they have already asked the people that are in positions of leadership as senators and representatives to make their decisions based upon what this tape has to offer. And people that are supposed to be versed in making hard decisions and on the best, for the best of the American people have already made many of those decisions. Many of those who had support for Donald Trump have withdrawn their support, and conveniently four weeks before the elections. And suddenly the gravity of our situation has been lost to our minds. No longer are we in a fight for survival for our nation. No longer is the course of our nation the utmost importance to our minds. Right now, we are given a decision whether Donald Trump is a qualified leader. And should he lead the American people? Is he the personification of what America is supposed to be? Well, we have to ask ourselves, is Hillary Clinton? And has Donald Trump ever been that? Or was he just the lesser of the two evils? When we started off this year, we understood that there was a great need for us to change the course of our nation. Not only that, if we just had the ability to stop the progression that we had going downhill, that was good enough for us as Americans. We understood that the future that was laid in front of us was not a good one, and moreover, it was horrifying. And so we took to supporting a man who we knew was a businessman, who we knew was not the best choice, but who we knew would be the best choice of the two evils. This man is not a man of principle. He's not a man of great ideals. He's a man, and he's a businessman. And we understood this, hopefully. But for some reason now, we are supposed to use different standards. We're supposed to have the luxury of judging on principles. And these are the principles that Glenn Beck, many times, a few weeks ago, really battered on a lot of people that were supporting Trump. How is it that they could vote against their principles? How is it that they could vote for a man that he said didn't really want to be president? How is it that we could make a decision such as this? Well, Glenn Beck, we understand for the past 8 years, you've shown us a future that was very bleak. You've shown us many truths about what the Obama administration and what a lot of aspects of our American government were doing behind the scenes. And we're starting to realize those truths. And we're starting to realize that these things are actually happening. And so we took it upon ourselves to make a hard decision. We took it upon ourselves to try to stop the progression first. Before we sought to make a new world, we sought to stop the progression downhill. And so it's kind of surprising to us that you're against that decision, and that so many of the Republicans that were supporting Trump are now against it based upon one video. Just months ago, our principles, our convictions, our beliefs, the reverence that we are supposed to have towards women, the respect that we are supposed to have towards women, didn't mean anything to Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton or anybody in the Democratic Party, or to those that were in the Supreme Court, many of those in the Supreme Court. They thought it was worthwhile that no longer should our daughters, our mothers, have the privilege of having purity and a sense of purity when it comes to things that are just being a woman. That reverence, that respect that we give them. And so many men were allowed that had very little consideration for the people that were raised by us, the people that raised us, were allowed into the women's restroom. And not only was it done in just the public restrooms, but you pushed this policy on our children so that they didn't have the decision of who was going to be watching them when they undressed, when they showered. And suddenly, we're allowed the luxury of having principles and convictions now. Women are respected now by you. The news media didn't advocate the women's cause. But for some reason now, we've been given this decision, and on the eve of the election, no doubt. We have to ask ourselves as Americans, how long is it that we're going to keep on letting our decisions and our minds be swayed? How long is it that we're going to continue to forget the things that we have just walked through and the things that we've just come through? For 16 years, we have been losing our liberties. It started with the beef up of security for the sake of safety, and it was spearheaded by patriotism. 8 years later, patriotism means nothing, and it is really offensive to many that are in the country, not to mention that the security of what we were seeking is non-existent. But moreover, we find that the people who had liberties are all the more, how would you say, shackled down in the way that they live. Everything that we do is tracked digitally and by the internet. Everything that we say is done so the same. And that we no longer have the liberty to our own privacy when it comes to phones, when it comes to internet, when it comes to videos, when it comes to online profiles. And then we sought to have a change. And we thought by voting by parties that would make a difference. And that by voting by skin color, that we would make a difference and we would make a good change. So many Americans went out, and predominantly black people went out and voted based on skin color. And we found out that didn't actually bring a good result. And we found out the person that we put in office really didn't have anything for the black culture when it came to making things better. But seemingly, a lot of things got worse. And not only that, but the president that we put in office, or that many people put in office based upon the color of his skin, now feels like it's his right to demand the black people to continue his legacy because he is black. And we should not be offended that a black man stereotypes a black man, if he is even that. How is it that a president can reach out to one demographic and demand that they vote in a certain way, in such a crude and informal way, use the support of one demographic to bring about his agenda?